the night of the bombing before we had any damage assessment. He said totally obliterated. Period. He lied. Call it out for what it is. And then again, we still have a free press in this country. They want to look into the truth, but Pete Hegseth then calls their patriotism into question.
Now, the Defence Secretary, Pete Hegseth, this is the US Defence Secretary, of course, took aim at the press today, accusing reporters of deliberately trying to cast doubt on the success of last weekend's US airstrikes against Iranian nuclear sites in aid of what he painted as a vendetta against the president, Donald Trump.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard. It's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump because you want him not to be successful so bad. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful.
Well, in the Pentagon briefing, Air Force General Dan Kane revealed that intelligence officials had been investigating Fordo, the Iranian nuclear facility, for 15 years before the attack. This comes as senators are set to meet with top national security officials. Some lawmakers question Donald Trump's decision to bomb 3 Iranian nuclear sites and whether those strikes were ultimately successful. Well, let's speak to Joe Walsh. He joins us from D.C., Washington, D.C., a former Republican congressman who's recently crossed the floor to the Democrats. Joe, good evening to you.
Good evening to you. What a despicable coward. I wish I could use stronger language. What a despicable coward Pete Hegseth is. But not a surprise, because the biggest coward in the world is the guy in the White House, Donald Trump.
Hang on,
My God, he bombs Iran. That's one thing.
Okay.
No, hold on. He bombs Iran, and he doesn't have the balls, he doesn't have the courage, he and Trump, to take honest questions from the media, from the press. What happened? What's the intelligence say? And instead, Hegseth hides behind our troops. He hides behind the flag. What a despicable coward.
All right,
they are.
Joe, listen. You're obviously really, really wound up about it. The truth of it is, no matter what Donald Trump, word he uses, obliteration, no matter whether the Israelis back that up or the Iranians don't, and the International Atomic Energy Agency today has said, and they are the UN nuclear watchdog, so they can hold a fairly impartial view. They have said that significant, enormous damage was the quote there. They wouldn't use obliterate, but they would use enormous damage. We're starting to get an understanding, but the fact of the matter is, we don't know. No one knows the extent of the damage until people can get on the ground and properly assess it. And we're not likely to know for a month or two. So all that we're seeing here from Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump is just, it's just grandstanding. It's just politics. Of course, Donald Trump's going to say that he obliterated the sites, but I'm guessing the average American voter is pretty wise to some of these big bouncy words that Donald Trump likes to use.
No. We see, this is what we've done. We normalize Trump. Every time he opens his mouth, he lies. And we normalize it. You just did it right there. Oh, that's Trump. He said obliterated. He exaggerated. That's what Trump does. No, he lies. The night of the bombing, before we had any damage assessment, he said totally obliterated. Period. He lied. Call it out for what it is. And then again, we still have a free press in this country. They want to look into the truth, but Pete Hegseth then calls their patriotism into question. Again, what a cowardly thing to do.
This has been a consistent feature of the US administration. And it's not just over these attacks, various different policies, various different initiatives. Everything is questioned. And if there's a message of dissent, then it is immediately called fake news. And sadly, do you know what? Yes, we're getting used to it. Can I ask you about what is happening in the Republican Party right now? Because we know before the strike, there was quite a bit of dissent from the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, and others who said, actually, this isn't very America first. This decision to bomb Iran really doesn't echo what I think the party should be standing for. Where are people like that now? Now the attack's happened. What is their opinion?
They'll all fall into line. I mean, hello, world, wake the hell up, world. Every Republican will fall into line. My former political party is a cult. 4.5 years ago, we tried to overthrow an American election, and they all fell into line. So he bombs Iran and then lies about it. They'll all fall into line.
Joe, with the greatest of respect, you've just had a go at Donald Trump for using audacious words, and you've just called. Hang on, Joe. I'm on your side here, and I want to hear from you. But equally, you can't accuse Donald Trump of using audacious words and then call the Republican Party a cult.
No. I'm sorry. Respectfully, I didn't accuse Donald Trump of using audacious words.
Well, you accused him of lying.
Of lying. Period.
All right.
We can't normalize what it is. Audacious. Bull. He lied.
Excuse your language. We are not. Listen, Joe. You are clearly really angry, and I have to level with you. It can be hard to listen to someone when they're really, really angry, and I want to have a really good conversation with you about this. Okay, I want to get to the heart of why you're upset, and you've given us a big indication, but I want to broaden this out. I don't think the Republican Party is a cult. I understand why you're saying you think that in your eyes, but I'm asking whether actually we've come to the end of the road on was this attack necessary or not, where Donald Trump stands on it, and actually has all of his party fallen into line? Have the voters fallen in line behind this now that it's been deemed a big success?
It doesn't matter if it's a big success. Republican voters will fall in line no matter what. And you asked why I'm upset. Okay, I'm upset because the man in the most powerful position on the planet is a pathological liar and an idiot. And so it doesn't matter whether the mission was a success or not. He's going to insist it was a success. His defense secretary will stand in front of the media and call it a success, and they will do their best to make sure the media doesn't look into whether it was a success or not. It is what it is. We've got two political parties in this country. One of our political parties is not driven by issues. I've said that a million times.
Okay,
they're
all right.
driven by devotion to him.
Yeah, look, Joe, you've crossed the floor to the Democrats. You've made your views really, really clear here on the show, and I thank you for that. Joe Walsh, thank you, former Republican Congressman.